A little while ago I did an article titled "What Causes Erectile Dysfunction?" and since then I thought it'd be a good idea to make a video. So let's take a look at some of the factors that can play a part in erectile dysfunction. So when a man has erectile dysfunction, he can find it hard to get an erection before sex, and he can find it hard to maintain an erection during sex. So it is clear to see this is a big issue for a man if this is taking place. Because not only can it stop him from being able to perform, it can also cause him to experience a lot of anxiety and worry. And it can even cause him to question his own worth as a man. And depending on what the woman is like, I mean, it could also gradually erode a relationship that he has with a woman. And of course it will all depend on how close they are, what kind of connection that they have, because of course a woman could be understanding and they could work together to try to get to the bottom of this, or it could be very different. And also a man could try to keep this to himself. And what I said in the article is that this is not something that only affects men who are older. Now it is affecting more and more younger men. And one of the big things that can cause this issue is stress. So a man can experience a lot of stress in his life. Perhaps could be to do with work, or perhaps he could have lost a loved one. And so lots of stress, and then it can be hard for him to be in the mood. So without even getting to the point where he loses it, he will be at the point where he can't even get an erection. So stress is a big thing, and obviously stress will affect his hormones, and it will affect everything, affect his emotions. So he can lose connection then to his body, and he can be more in his head. And another thing that I mentioned was simply a man's hormones can just be out of whack anyway. So he might not be in a place of high stress, but his hormones could be out of whack. And this could be due to medication he's on. Perhaps he's on some kind of antidepressants or something anyway, or who knows, but some kind of drugs that can do it. And also excess alcohol can do it as well. So it's clear to see there could be some kind of underlying challenge there to begin with. And another common problem is watching too much porn. So through a man watching so much and becoming basically desensitized to what he sees, when it comes down to normal, because obviously online they're doing all kinds of things in these videos. So when it comes down to normal, what is often classed as vanilla sex, it can be something that doesn't really turn him on, because he's seen it all online, he's become so numb. And obviously when it comes down to masturbating online, it's not really about the physical pleasure and sensations, it's more of a mental thing. So it's more of a visual thing. So that can be another thing that can do it. Simply watching too much of this stuff then just numbs the man to normal sexual encounters. And then going down to the psychological, obviously that's psychological as well, but going more into the realm that I usually talk about, this man may have had a traumatic experience Perhaps when he was younger, it could have been the first time he had sex. Or it could have been something way back. Perhaps there's some kind of sexual abuse there. And so if it does come to what happened when he was younger, perhaps the first experience, that can, consciously he might not remember what took place, but his body, his unconscious mind can. So just before he gets to that moment, he can experience anxiety, and then his genitals can basically shut down as a way to protect himself from experiencing what he went through all those years ago. So that can still be there. But as I said, if his conscious mind, the part of us that forgets everything, there's a way to avoid pain. If that part of him has forgotten what took place, and it can just be a mystery, so it can be that. And if it goes back to something that happened during his childhood, some kind of sexual abuse, then again his conscious mind can have no memory of that either, and then that can come up. And so it might be an overreaction now, so he can be with a woman, he feels safe, he has a good connection with her, but then his body is responding as if that is not the case. And that's because at one point that would have been the case. And another point I went into is that if a man had a mother that got too close to him when he was younger, this is called a mother enmeshed man. During this time in his life, he would have felt smothered and engulfed, and it would have felt wrong, as though what he was doing is shameful. And so when he gets close to a woman now, again, conscious mind can have no memory of this, but it will bring back all those emotions of feeling smothered and trapped. So once again, the sexual part of his being can shut down, can switch off, because it doesn't feel right. So, as you can see, there are a number of reasons why this can take place. And if a man has experienced trauma, then he can disconnect from his body anyway, and his lower body can feel numb. So there can be the approach of changing the kind of drugs that he's on, or cutting down on porn, or finding ways to manage the stress that he is in, perhaps walking in nature, meditation, changing perhaps how he breathes, and even changing his diet. But there's also looking into what happened way back and resolving the trauma. So if you're a man reading this, please know that there are solutions out there. And although you might feel as though this is something that is shameful and something you've got to hide, it is something that a lot of men are going through and have gone through, and it's not something that you need to be ashamed of. So please make sure you reach out for the right support, and don't allow this to destroy your life.